So the second trip I took was into Minneapolis to a little Y called Elk River. And there's a church that meets in the Y. Bjorn Dixon is the pastor. It's called the Y Church. And in an initial gathering, Bjorn had gathered about 15 people from the church and about 15 people from the Y staff, and they didn't necessarily know each other. So it's one of those meetings where people are trying to get acquainted. And so Bjorn had people going around the table saying, would you just explain a little bit about your connection to the church or the Y, and for fun, tell us something about you we don't know. So the first guy was an elder in church, an older guy. This is Minneapolis, and football fans will appreciate this. And he said, well, something people don't know about me is that I'm a Chicago Bears fan. And that was like adding gasoline to the fire. And the room started laughing. And then someone talked about their grandkids, and another one about their trip to Disney World or something. And they got about 10, 12 people in. There's a young lady, about 34, I would say, blonde hair, very outgoing. Everybody seemed to know her. In fact, everybody did know her. Her name was Mallory. I actually found out her name later, 6 months later, but her name was Mallory, and everybody knew her because she worked the front desk in the Y on Sunday morning. So all the church people knew her because she's the one they always saw from the Y staff, and obviously the Y staff knew her. She had 2 kids in a glass wall behind me in Child Watch that were smiling and waving at her while we talked. And then she said, but something I don't think anybody in this room knows is that I'm going through a really ugly divorce. And it was like someone sucked the air out of the room, because suddenly this joyous kind of laughter, lighthearted room became dead quiet. You could hear a pin drop, and it got very somber. And her friend turned to her next to her and said, are you okay? And she said, yeah, I'm okay. But she started to tear up a little bit. She says, I'm going through a really good divorce recovery class. Mm-hmm. And now we're all listening into this kind of private conversation, and her friend says, is it a good class? She said, it's a great class, but it's really small. There's only like 4 of us ladies. And her friend asked the question, why do you think it's so small? And I couldn't have paid Mallory to answer the question better. She said, and we heard, I think it's because we meet at my church. And I literally about fell off my chair. And I actually interrupted the meeting and said, can we stop right here for a second? What if we took that same Christian-based divorce recovery class with the same person leading it, the pastor or lay person or whoever that is, with those same 4 ladies who would attend on the same night of the week, Thursday nights, at the same time at 7 o'clock? But what if we moved that meeting from her church? Did I already say this, why it was so small? Because I said that, right? Mm-hmm. So it was in her church. She said, what if we moved it from the church and put it right here in the Y? And what if you as a Y staff knew through the week that on Thursday nights at 7 o'clock, besides our basketball leave and our swim lessons and the Zumba classes that are going on, we also have this Christian-based divorce recovery. Do you think there's anybody out there coming through the doors of the Y that week that are walking through divorce that could really use that kind of a class, but would never go to a church to do that? That's too scary, but the Y would be safe. And you told me this little community of 25,000 people is a suburb of Minneapolis, and basically 20,000 of them drive right by your Y every day to go to work, and they drive right home, right by your Y to go home. And I saw you had a signboard outside that has a reader board. What if on that signboard every once in a while you put Thursday nights, 7 p.m., divorce recovery class? Do you think anybody driving by that sign, going to work twice a day, is going through divorce? And they would never go to a church or a counselor for this kind of stuff, but walking through the door of a Y would make perfect sense to them. And when they walked in the door, they might go, wow, this is a pretty good place. I might come here for something else. Mm-hmm. And if you could do that for divorce, couldn't you do that for marriage communication or raising kids or dealing with grief or handling an addiction or financial situations? There's so many life issues that the Y could address from this very neutral place between the faith community and the secular community that would make a world of difference in people's lives.
It would change communities, wouldn't it?
It would change communities.
Yeah.